So I'm going to go ahead and kick it off now. So, hey everyone, thank you so much for being here. My name is Isaac Hobson. I am the current chair of the Virginia Library Association Professional Associates Forum. Welcome to the Morale and Mindfulness Workplace Sanctuary for library staff and faculty. This virtual presentation will show the results of a collaborative project between a library staff member and a faculty librarian in the creation of a sanctuary space for library employees to relax and rejuvenate. Our presenters today are Anna Tecson and Linda Todd. Anna is an Access and Outreach Service Associate at Marymount University Library, as well as a registered yoga teacher. During spring 2021 semester, she created a 5-day series of meditation practices for Ethics Week at Marymount University. Anna leads a 15-minute Mindful Mondays meditation weekly, and in a previous position, she taught yoga workplace for 9 years at the State Department. She's held classes when there was often no dedicated space for them as well, so an experienced person in this matter. Linda is an instruction and reference librarian with Marymount University Library and has been studying sacred spaces since the year 2000, when she took a series of sacred architecture classes and internships to design and build a Strawbale house in her undergraduate program. The house included a meditation room. In recent years, she has taken Mindfulness Based Stress Reduction courses, a Mindfulness Summit, ZapChen classes with the Mind Body Project, and Yin Yoga classes taught by our very own Anna. Linda did a literature review on mindfulness in libraries in 2018-2019, which led to collaboration with Anna in 2021 to create this sanctuary space in the library. Linda is the library liaison for nursing and health sciences at Marymount University as well. I'll ask that everyone keeps themselves muted while Anna and Linda lead this session, unless you're asked to unmute. Feel free to drop questions into the chat box. I'll be moderating the chat as well as taking down any questions for a potential Q&A afterwards if we have time. We'll try to answer as many questions as we can, assuming that there might be time left over. We're going to be recording this session as well, so if you have to leave early, you can always watch it later. Enough from me, though. I would officially like to pass the torch over to Anna and Linda so that they can begin their information session. All y'all's.
Okay, thank you, Isaac. I'm going to share my screen, and then we'll get started. Anna and I will get started. Okay. Alrighty. Okay, so I don't have much to add because Isaac did such a nice introduction of Anna and me. So we'll get started with our agenda for today. So we're going to talk about Anna. We just had our introduction, and we're going to talk about Anna's background and interest in sanctuary, and then my background and interest in sanctuary. We're going to talk about library sanctuary spaces and do a mindful movement practice. And then we're going to do an exercise with some question and answers. So as you are taking part in this presentation today, I'd like you to think about, how do you envision self-care as part of your workplace routine? And when you need to take a break from work, what is it that you do and where is it that you go? What kind of institutional support could contribute to workplace wellness? So I'm going to put this exercise link in the chat, and you can open it. Sorry, I just want to copy and paste this. Actually, okay. I just have to get used to the. Okay, I'm going to put it in the chat again. And if you want to open that Padlet exercise in a second screen, you can add comments to it as we go along, or you can wait to the end because we're going to have time at the end. So this is the Padlet, and all you need to do is to add a comment is click on this right here, and you can type in your comment. Everybody's comments will be in each column. Okay, I'm going to close that, and then we're going to get started. So we're going to start with Anna's interest in sanctuary.
Thank you, Linda. So today I'd like to share two things with you. The first is the idea of recognizing and fulfilling an individual need that can ultimately fulfill a greater collective need and perhaps even foster a community. So as Isaac mentioned, I have taught yoga for several years. I initially pursued a yoga teacher certification simply to immerse in the subject, and I didn't really have any plans to teach other than just offering a few classes in my neighborhood. How I ended up teaching at State was one of my neighbors who ran a martial arts center showed up at my door and invited me to attend a health fair. So while I was participating at the health fair at the State Department, an occupational therapy nurse approached me and asked whether anybody could practice yoga. And I assured them that yoga could be adapted to anyone's needs. So this conversation led to a 3-month pilot program where I taught 6 classes a week at State for 3 months. And we offered office yoga during the day and traditional hatha yoga after hours. And at the time, there were really no wellness programs at State. So it was very well received. And I ended up teaching for 9 years, hundreds of students from all over the world. And as you would expect, other practitioners also found yoga so fulfilling, they wanted to study. So I mentored a few of my regular practitioners, helped them establish their teacher training, and invited them to teach at State. And from there, we just kind of established a community that really extends now beyond the State Department. They're really all over the world now. During the pandemic, I've been teaching classes mostly online, and just as a way to stay connected, the Mindful Mondays meetups are simply a 15-minute connection on Zoom. We practice a little mindful movement similar to what we'll practice today, and a little bit of quiet meditation, just mindfulness, and just to stay connected with each other. So it's free, anybody can join. I have the link to Mindful Mondays on my website. And if any of you are teaching any kind of wellness practices or are thinking about it and would just like to join in, please feel free to do so. So the other theme is sanctuary, which I've distinguished into 2 categories, mental or psychological sanctuary and physical sanctuary. So when we practice yoga at State, we made do with whatever space was available, and we practiced office yoga in the health unit during office hours, so people were coming and going. But even in a space with a lot of activity, we established what you might call a container, and it was a psychological container, and that anybody who attended class could just leave behind their workplace identity, their positions, their roles, and occupy a neutral space just in the middle of the day. This is just very mentally refreshing. Nobody ever discussed work. And I think it was, really unspoken. Nobody agreed that that was how we would function, but it was clear that that's what everyone wanted and needed. So when most of us were working at home, it was my daily yoga practice that was my mental sanctuary. So every day during my workplace, my break at work, I would practice just 20 minutes of really gentle yoga, a little relaxation, have my lunch, and come back refreshed. And that was so grounding during a very difficult time that when we returned back to work on site, that was a non-negotiable. I would just practice every day in any kind of weather. I would have to go outside, and if it rained, I would just find an awning to duck under, and hopefully not a very conspicuous part of campus. Also, physical sanctuary is very important. And sometimes the space that we have is ordinary or even barely accommodating, like the health unit I described, where people are just coming and going. We also practiced hatha yoga after work in an exhibit hall, which was basically a public foyer with foot traffic and maintenance crew, floor cleaners, just kind of, and there were video monitors, blasting news 24/7. But that was our space, and we turned it into our sanctuary. There were times when there was one incident in particular. Someone walked straight through the class, in between a row of yoga mats, just chatting loudly on their phone, no regard at all for, our space. And maybe initially people were put off, but then we all kind of recognized that this is just part of our practice, and we learned to just shrug off any interruption that might invade our space. When I mentioned that I've been practicing outside. I have a slide to share with you. This is one of my secret spots. This is a concrete step outside emergency exit on one side of the Reinsch Library. And this photo was taken on election day last year. I was so eager to get to the polls. I think I sprang out of bed at like 3 a.m. So by midday, I was pretty worn out. I am practicing a posture called Viparita Karani, also known as legs up the wall. So I'm lying on my back on my yoga mat, and my legs are flush against the wall at a 90-degree angle. And this posture is deeply restorative. It reverses the flow of circulation from your legs, and just very rejuvenating. And I was grateful to be able to practice this for a few minutes. It really helped me get through the rest of my day and to function well. And if this sanctuary space seems a little austere, I have one more to share with you, which is many years ago, I lived and worked in a studio apartment. And when I wanted to practice yoga, I simply took a bed sheet and I laid it on the floor, and I put my mat in the middle of the sheet. And so I had these visual boundaries around a space without any distractions, and essentially created a third space with a sheet on the floor. Now, so really through intention, you can turn any space into a sanctuary. Ideally, creating a sanctuary purposefully and with intention is highly meaningful. And Linda will share with you some of her work and research in sacred architecture and creating intentional sacred spaces.
Thank you, Anna. Okay, so in February of this year, Anna had taken the idea of creating a sanctuary space to our library leadership at Marymount University. And I had done a literature review on mindfulness in libraries the previous, well, in 1819. So when I saw that Anna had taken her idea to our leadership, I asked to be part of the project to create a sanctuary space in the library. And my interest started in my undergraduate program in a small college, Hartford College in upstate New York, where I took 2 sacred architecture courses, and over 3 summers, students at Hartford College built a Strawbale house on the environmental campus. It's called Pine Lake in Oneonta, New York. And I was involved in 2 of the courses and 2 of the summer internships. I graduated, and then the 3rd year, the house was finished. So this Strawbale house, this is the Strawbale house at Pine Lake campus in the summer, and in the winter, the students in these classes, we designed the house, and then we built it. So we applied all of this plaster inside the building, the outside walls, inside walls, and outside walls. And as part of our preparation for designing and building the house, we went to several sacred spaces in New York. We went to New York City. We went to some monasteries in the Catskill Mountains. And I'm just going to let you take a moment to read this quote at the bottom. This was a book that we used. It's called The Pattern Language, and it was by Christopher Alexander, an architect. And I'll just let you read the quote, and then I'll go on. And one of the things I wanted to start showing you about these spaces is that they have some common features. So these meditative spaces have outside light, they have soft lighting, and a feeling of spaciousness. This was a trip we took, if you can imagine these, I was in my 40s, and most of the students were 18, 19, 20, and we were in a van heading for New York City, and we ended up, this is one of the first places that we visited, was the Frank Lloyd Wright room at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. And then also on that same trip to New York City, we went to the Cathedral of St. John the Divine. And again, as with all cathedrals, we're looking at light, windows, spaciousness. And then we also took a trip to the KTD monastery, which is Tibetan Buddhism, and the Zen Mountain Monastery, which is Zen Buddhism. And both of these spaces, when you first look at them, they're like, very different. But then when you start looking at some of the elements of the rooms, you see again, light, windows, outside light coming in, some soft lighting, and just even looking at the photos, you just there's a calmness to these rooms. So we took what we had learned by reading the a pattern language, and visiting sacred places, and we started building the Strawbale house. This is the meditation room in the Strawbale house, and Peter Blue was the manager of the environmental campus when I was there, when I was going to school at Hartwick, and when we were working on the Strawbale house starting in summer of 2000. He was there then, and he's still there today and gives tours of the Strawbale house. And when I asked him if he could take some photographs for me for this project, he did so. So all of this plaster in this room was made by us, by the students. And again, we have outside windows, outside light coming into the room. We have soft lighting. And then we have a step down, so an entrance into the meditation room to make it a separate space. I worked a lot on this particular room, and I can still kind of feel the plaster in my hands, and we applied multiple coats over the Strawbale. So taking all of that as my background, we were trying to say, how can I combine these two, the Strawbale House design considerations, excuse me, and then space design considerations, to trying to find a space for library personnel within our library at Marymount. So again, we were trying to find, we wanted, Anna and I, thinking about lighting, natural lighting, soft lighting. We want quiet. So quiet, the Pine Lake campus was very rural. And we are a small private school in Virginia, and at Marymount is, and we have 4 floors in the main library in the main campus. We have a library extension in another building, but we do have a quiet floor. So we really wanted our sanctuary space to be on the quiet floor of the library. We wanted some privacy. Again, the environmental campus was very, very private, and we were, as Anna and I started looking around campus to try to figure out, we were trying to figure out if there was a space in another building on campus or in the library. So we were trying to think, ideally we wanted a door on the space, but we also thought, okay, maybe we can do it with partitions or curtains if we can't have an actual room. We also wanted comfort. The meditation room in the Strawbale house has comfort, and we wanted at least a comfortable chair and footstool. And then we wanted some windows. We wanted a space with windows. And Isaac, is there a question in the chat?
I don't think so. I think I probably added to that when I gave the link
Okay.
again, for people to keep contributing.
Okay, thank you. So and then, so talking about the design considerations, the Oxford English Dictionary says definition of sanctuary is a place that offers refuge. And that's what we were looking for our personnel. So Anna and I actually started walking around campus to see, what kinds of spaces does Marymount have for students? And for students, they're pretty well taken care of. So they have a meditation room on the main campus, and then there's also a meditation room. We have a building that opened in 2017 in downtown Arlington, Ballston Center, and there's a meditation room there as well. And then also the students have a campus wellness room for students. So they have a comfortable chair, they have some soft lighting, they have some aromatherapy, a yoga mat. There were an affirmation bulletin board, images of yoga poses in case the students wanted to do different yoga in the wellness room, soft lighting. And so we started thinking, okay, this is what the students have. And what can we come up with for library personnel? So we came up, Anna and I, because we study rooms, as everyone knows, are prime real estate in a library, and well used. So we did not even mention to library leadership that maybe a study room was a possibility. We thought about it, but we didn't really mention that. We came up with a window space, and we were going to try to use partitions. And our university librarian really didn't want that because it was in a right between the stacks, and students and coming and going to the restroom. So library leadership thought this was important enough that they were very supportive, and they offered a dual purpose group study room. So this is it's a pilot that we began actually last week, September 20th was the first day we had this space available. And we are doing 4 hours a day, Monday through Friday. And right now we're doing 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. and we're taking we're starting to take statistics, and we're doing it anonymously so that people can use the room, but we just want to know if the room is being used. So this is the room that we came up with. This is a small special collections room. It's called the Hoyt Study Room, and we do have an outside window. This window is the same window in both photos, and it overlooks a rain garden, which right now it's beautiful. So, and then we asked for one of the soft chairs and stools. We have multiple sets of these throughout the library and the university librarians, so that we could use one. So we put this in the study room. So what we're trying to have here is, again, natural light and comfortable. Sorry, I went too fast. Natural light and comfortable seating. So this is our pilot, and we're going to revisit toward the end of this semester and see how the room is being used. I'm trying to come up with more that we can put into the room. Funding is always an issue, so we're trying to make the room as inviting as possible. So what we're going to do now, before we have question and answers, is we're going to do some mindful movement with Anna. And again, these are things that you could do in a sanctuary space. And for our space, people are using, part of their lunch break, and they can go use the sanctuary room. So I'm going to stop our share for a moment so that you can actually see Anna. And I'm going to hand it over to Anna for a mindful movement practice. And I will mute myself for.
Thank you, Linda. So if you'll excuse me, I'm going to get up for a moment. I'm going to move my chair, and I'd like to show you this basic sequence. I'll start sitting, and then if you feel like getting up, we can continue standing. But I wanted to show you how this practice is really adaptable to pretty much any setting. This is something you can do right at your desk. So we're just going to begin with a few movements, large movements, to kind of warm up the spine. And you might have seen many variations of Vidalasana, the cat postures, of arching and rounding the back. Here's a simple version. You would raise your forearms, and on your in-breath, you'll draw your shoulders back. You'll tip your chin slightly toward the sky, and you'll open your chest. So here you're creating a back bend. And then as you exhale, you'll bring your forearms toward one another. They don't have to touch, and you're lowering the crown of your head, pulling your navel in toward your spine as you round your back. So let me turn sideways. As you breathe in, you're opening your front body, and then as you exhale, you're rounding your back and stretching the length of your spine. So we'll try that a few times, inhaling and exhaling. So this particular practice of arching and rounding the spine is highly rejuvenating. You're actually pumping the cerebral spinal fluid through your body. Now, if you were to practice standing up, you would stand with your feet about hip width apart, and I would recommend just keeping a little bend in your knees so you're not straining your back, so there's no tension in your lower back. And again, as you're breathing in, you're opening your front body, and then as you exhale, you're scooping your tailbone under and rounding. So hopefully you're just feeling that through the entire length of your spine. So even just a few repetitions of this throughout the day can really make a difference. So next I'm going to share with you a dynamic spinal twist. So if you were sitting, you would bring your feet a little wider apart, and resting your hands on your thighs, lean your torso forward, and you would drop your left shoulder down toward the floor as you turn to gaze over your right shoulder. So you start to feel a little bit of a twist. As you inhale, you come back to center. And as you exhale, you turn to gaze over the other shoulder. And just continue moving with the breath. You can really drop your shoulder down between your knees as deeply as you feel like it. So you can really kind of adapt your practice to how you're feeling and what you need. If you're standing, feet are about shoulder width apart. Again, a little bend in the knees. I'm leaning forward and I'm resting my hands on my thighs, just very lightly. And again, I'm dropping the shoulder, one shoulder down as I look over the opposite shoulder. My tailbone sort of tips up toward the sky. And each time I breathe in, I come back to center. And then as I exhale, I'm turning the gaze over the other shoulder. I'm just rocking from side to side. And notice your breathing. Just allow your breathing to be expansive. Just no holding back on the breath. It can be audible and full. Take care that your jaw is soft and there's no tension in your face. Good. And then after rotating evenly to both sides, let's come back to center. I'll have a seat again. So one very basic way of incorporating movement throughout your days is to simply think about moving your spine in 6 directions. So this sequence I'm going to share with you will accomplish just that. So let's just begin by taking a nice deep breath in. A big audible exhale out. And then with your next in breath, just bring your arms out to the sides. And as you exhale, bring your palms to meet in front of your heart. So you might keep your palms right here. And with your next in breath, just begin to lift your breastbone, tip your chin toward the sky. So just a very gentle back bend. And then as you inhale, you'll bring your head back to center, and then you'll start to lower your torso over the tops of your thighs, and your arms are just straight along your sides. And with your next in breath, you'll start to curl up. So we just practiced the back bend and a forward bend. That's 2 of 6 movements of the spine. Next, we'll move laterally. So if it's comfortable, if it feels best to you to keep your arms by your sides, you can do that. And with your next exhalation, just begin to stretch laterally over to your left. And then with your next in-breath, come back to center. And as you exhale, stretch over to your right, side to side. As you inhale, come back to center. And with your next exhalation, turn to your right, and you can open your arms out from your shoulders if you like. Just a little bit of a twist. And with your next in-breath, come back to center. And then as you exhale, you'll twist over to the other side. Inhale back to center. And then as you exhale, bring your palms to meet. Now maybe you feel like opening up a little more. So we'll repeat the sequence. With your next in-breath, as you practice the back bend, maybe you'd like to reach your arms above. And then as you exhale and fold forward, arms will drape along your sides. And then with your next inhalation, you'll start to curl back up. And again, maybe you'd like to reach your arms above. We'll practice our lateral movements. So with your next exhalation, stretch over to your left. Inhale back to center. Stretch over to your right. Inhale back to center. Again, we'll twist. We'll twist to the right first on your exhale. Inhale back to center. Exhale, twist to your left. Inhale back to center. Exhale, bring your palms to meet. Good, we'll practice again. I'm going to stand up this time. Really, all you need is a space beneath your feet. Inhale, arms extend. Exhale, palms meet in front of your heart. Inhale, back. Now, as you exhale, watch how I fold forward. I'm bending my knees, and I'm just, as I lower my torso, I'm even resting my abdomen over my thighs. So it's a very gentle, supported forward bend. So if your back is sensitive, support your torso over your legs. And then with your next in-breath, slowly curl up. Maybe you'd like to reach your arms above. Exhale as you stretch to your left. Inhale, come back to center. Exhale, stretch to your right. Inhale, back to center. Exhale, twist to your right. Inhale, back to center. Exhale, twist to your left. Inhale, back to center. Exhale, bring your palms to meet. We'll practice one last time. This time, you might want to hold each posture for about 5 breaths. So we'll practice slowly. Take a moment to re-engage your breathing. And with your next inhalation, open your arms up toward the sky. Here you'll hold and breathe. Take care to keep the back of the neck long. Your next in-breath, bring your torso upright. And then as you exhale, begin to fold forward. I'm bending my knees. As I come up, I can round up, pulling my navel in toward the spine. But let's stay here for a few more breaths. Maybe you feel like stretching your legs a little more, so you might start to straighten them in your forward bend. So when you folded forward, your knees were bent. Maybe you might start to just stretch them a little bit more. And to rise up safely, I recommend a little bend in the knees. And with your next in-breath, pull your navel in toward your spine, slowly curl back up, sweep your arms overhead. You can keep your arms shoulder width apart, but maybe you'd like to interlace your fingers to create a little bit of resistance. So as your palms press together, your feet are grounded. And then with your next exhalation, just begin to stretch over to your left. So again, fingers interlaced or arms reaching, or even just your arms to your sides. Hold and breathe. With your next inhalation, come back to center. And with your next exhalation, stretch over to your right. So lateral postures might be some of the most rejuvenating because it's really not a movement that we practice regularly. Good. I think we have a question. Your next in.
Yeah, do you want me to? So one of the questions is basically, should these yoga exercises be done before or after eating, or does that not impact things?
Oh, that is a wonderful question. And thank you for asking. We recommend practicing between meals. So at least 2 to 3 hours after a meal. Yeah, thank you for asking about that. So when I practice during the day, I begin my lunch break with the yoga, and then I finish with my meal. Yeah. So yeah, if you have any other questions, please feel free to ask. So we have just finished our lateral stretches on both sides. So we'll make our way back to center, and let's just add our twists to finish up. So with your next exhalation, turn your torso over to the right and open your arms out from your shoulders. So my legs are still facing forward. It's just a gentle turning of the upper body to one side. And with your next in-breath, come back to center. And then with your next exhalation, twist over to your left. And then breathing in once more, come back to center. And then with your next exhalation, bring your palms to meet in Anjali Mudra. Take your deepest breath in. Big exhale out. So thank you for participating. Let's see, let's check time. If you would, let's just sit for a minute or two. And please relax your posture. You can lean against the back of your seat. You can close your eyes. You can just allow your body to rest however it feels. And perhaps close your eyes and draw your focus inward. And after being fully present in our physical bodies, re-engaging our breath, let's give ourselves an opportunity to reintegrate body, breath. Just bringing light attention to the balls of your feet, your toes, your arches, your heels, your ankles, your shins, your calves, your knees, your thighs, your buttocks, your pelvis, your abdomen, your back, your chest, your shoulders, your upper arms, your elbows, your forearms, your wrists, your palms, your fingers, your throat, your jaw, your ears, your chin, your lips, your tongue, your palate, your cheeks, your nose, your nostrils, your eyes, your brow, your scalp, the crown of your head. Breathing in, breathing out. Feel your whole body supported by the surface beneath you. And from this place of relaxed stillness, silently affirm, my mind is calm. My body is calm. My body is relaxed. My mind is alert. My mind is awake. And lightly shifting your eyes behind your closed lids, begin to blink. And as your eyelids part, just keep your gaze relaxed, just gradually taking in your surroundings once again. Feeling your breath and feeling that peaceful balance between your internal world and your external world. So thank you for joining me, and please feel free to ask questions.
Sorry, go ahead, Linda.
Oh, I was just going to say thank you, Anna. And were there more questions, Isaac? And after that, I'll put up the Padlet.
Yeah, well, I think there's some topics in the Padlet that
okay.
But I might actually, just if it's okay, I'd be kind of curious to ask, I guess when I imagine probably the biggest barrier for this, it's convincing either administration or the library director or leadership to kind of buy into this. And I was kind of curious if you guys could tell us a little bit about your experience kind of taking this topic to some of those people that ultimately can say yes or no, because that's something I'm very curious to know how you guys treaded that water and just your experience about that.
And well, I'll start, and then I'll have Anna chime in as well. The first step was Anna taking it to our leadership council. So we're a small a library. We have a university librarian, and then we did a reorganization a year ago. So we have 2 departments. And so the leadership council are just 3 people. So Anna took the idea to them in February, but we did have to really, offer the evidence. So when we did a couple of things in there. We took a very similar presentation to our Washington Research Library Consortium and presented on the idea of having a space before we had it. And we also had to talk with Leadership Council and provide reasons for this. And I can share the slides with you after, because we have a short bibliography at the end that you can share with the people that come. But Anna, I'm going to have you add in to Isaac's question as well.
Sure, thank you, Linda. It really started with an offhand remark, and I give our department head, Hall Baldwin, a lot of credit, because she was lamenting during the spring semester that we were all feeling just a little weary because we skipped spring break after sending everyone home early in the fall. And I said, oh, well, maybe we ought to think about being proactive and just really anticipating, well, what can we do to finish up the semester without just people losing it. And then I had read a piece in American Nurse Journal, and it was just a profile of these nurse heroes. And apparently there was one nurse who established a sanctuary room for staff to get away. I thought, oh, that was an excellent idea. So I just shared the blurb with Hall, and she said, well, could you present to the next leadership council meeting? And I just kind of gave them just an outline, maybe we could just find a space, we're all public facing, I go outside when I can, but and most of us are in shared office spaces, so there's just no solitude. And so it started there, and then Linda and I had to scout. So that's when we were kind of on our mission, and we were checking out campus, and we presented LC with all these different possibilities, just random corridors in the building, and window wells, like what Linda described. I think I'd even shared, like this huge umbrella, that we could just go outside and hide under this umbrella. And yeah, we were actually really surprised that we were offered use of a study room, because that was really beyond our expectations. But so you never know. So it might just, you might just start the conversation. And if you look at the bibliography, there's a link to a Forbes article. Having just a space to isolate is one of the top 5 demands of workers returning after the pandemic. So it's really kind of it's not a novel idea. I think it's on everybody's minds, and you're probably aware of just some of the findings about how counterproductive shared workspaces can be. So maybe maybe compensating with just a little space can kind of balance things out.
So it sounds kind of like a good blend of just having the courage to kind of have that first conversation and just kind of open that door a little bit, and then it sounds like having a good plan B, C, D, E, and F, so that when you present this, you're giving a lot of options. So
exactly, yeah, and we also did a survey. We did a staff survey. So
great. Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. No, that sounds like fantastic first steps, and I'm very tempted to emulate that myself. So I appreciate that. That's great.
Anna did come up with a staff survey, and we had very positive responses on the questions that we asked. I am going to share the screen because I want to get the Padlet open again. Sharing. So, okay. And see, so people are starting to write. That's great. So I'm going to try to just look at this and see what kind of, funding for more staff designated space. Yes. So, funding is an issue. The National Network of Libraries of Medicine, there are some funding opportunities each year as there, and that is one option. And we actually wrote to a woman from that group, and she was very positive about if we applied for funding. And we're not a hospital library here. I am the liaison for health sciences, but so I do recommend that you start looking for funding, because we really want to add more things, a lamp, maybe a salt lamp, maybe some yoga things for yoga, and supervisors approved to take breaks that aren't just my lunch break. See, we didn't do that. Oh, I see. You're saying you'd like to have that. We are including this because we didn't want anyone, to go hide in the sanctuary room. And we don't have anybody on staff right now that would do that. But So this really is part of, if you have an hour's break during the day, then that's up to you how you break that up. And part of that time you can be in the sanctuary room. And we also limited it so that people can go, 2 15-minute slots. So, they're not taking a whole hour, so other people can use it if needed. And Isaac and Anne, I'm going to ask you too, I just want to see if I don't feel comfortable asking admin. Okay,
if I may jump in about
Yes.
the time. Yeah, so when I initially presented, I wanted to make it clear that we weren't going to take time out of our scheduled work designation. So I had suggested kind of alternate booking for our break. So maybe take a half-hour lunch and then have a couple of 15-minute breaks during the day. So it would still just amount to the time that we're given.
And, we worked hard. This was not fast. I mean, we worked hard from February to September to get approval to get this to go through. And we really had to have our university librarians. We had to convince her that people need this. And, mindfulness is everywhere now, and taking care of your employees is really, really important.
So I'm hearing be patient, and that makes a lot of sense too. Especially I think given libraries, sometimes it takes a while for things to happen. But I still just think getting the ball rolling is such a good first step, and I encourage everybody here and myself to kind of take the lead that you guys have and just open some of those doors and see where it leads.
And there will be challenges. There have been challenges about using a study room. So you just, that's to be expected, that there will be challenges. And hopefully we can work through those as well.
Okay. So out of curiosity, would you mind sharing those slides with me as well so I can send them out to everybody that couldn't make it and the people that are here in case they'd like it?
Yes, I'll share the Padlet and the slides. Yes.
Fantastic. Okay, so then I think that's it for today's session. So we've learned so much, the multifaceted definition of a sanctuary, the importance of lighting and breathing, and also how bad I am at breathing, which was a big thing for me to realize. We really appreciate everyone who came out, and a super massive special thank you to Anna and Linda for making this possible. Until next time, everybody have a great rest of your day. Bye, you guys.
Thank you very much, Isaac.
No, thank you both. You made this all possible. I'm so appreciative that you all could be here and that you guys could share this experience with us.
You're welcome.
Bye, you guys.